And we thought we'd put Johnny on the spot and give us his power rankings for this new all-Canadian division that should be happening.
And you know what? In Canada, I think people are very excited all across the country that prospects of this for one season, just because there are so many good teams and there are the rivalries. If you're going to play a team 9 or 10 times, having a geographic rivalry, having a cross-country rival, having a historical rival will help make those games as you play game 7, 8, 9 more palatable, more interesting, more engaging. And the fact that, as you mentioned, 6 of the 7 made it to the return to the play. The team that came 6th of the bunch last year was Montreal, and they added a ton of new players and got much better. They are so tightly packed. And so as I went through these rankings, I will say this. Teams 1 through 6, very tricky to distinguish between them. I don't say it with a great degree of confidence that one might finish above the other, but I went 7 down to 1. So the one team, unfortunately, that looks like kind of locked in their position, I think, will be at number 7, the Ottawa Senators. Sure. And that's okay, because they did bottom out. They have great draft picks. They have a tremendous pool of prospects. Then they went out and acquired a new goaltender in Matt Murray and some new players to help build this core group around. They're not supposed to be good just yet. They're supposed to be getting better, improving, growing, implementing more young players in our lineup, and they will do all of that. But when you look at the teams across Canada, they are clearly 7th best in talent, in experience, in expectations. And I think this would be the one team I would be surprised if I was wrong about. They're doing it the proper way. They're taking their time. They're rebuilding slowly.
They had 3 first-round draft picks this year.
Even though Eugene Melnyk thinks it's going to happen this year or next. Maybe not quite this year, but going forward, they're going to be better. And they won't be the a rollover for the other teams in this division. But I have them pretty comfortably at number 7.
Yeah, I would agree with that call. And I think most people out there who know a lot about hockey would. And like you said, that's okay. They are going through the rebuilding process, and they'll probably be great in the next 5 years. Who's number 6?
This is where it gets tricky. These are good teams. Number 6 for me, the Winnipeg Jets.
Wow.
Despite all their talent, and they have a ton of it up front, assuming Mark Scheifele is bounced back by Patrick Laine, Nikolai Ehlers, I think, is a completely underrated player. We don't got Paul Stastny again. And they have the reigning Vezina Trophy winner in Connor Hellebuyck. My concern for Winnipeg is this. Connor Hellebuyck won the Vezina Trophy because he had a great year, but also because he had to have a great year. And the defensive zone play for Winnipeg last year by the defensemen and by the entire team wasn't great. And it required Connor Hellebuyck to be fantastic. Now, can he be that good again? Yes. Is it likely maybe he has some sort of drop in his game because that's just the way that professional athletes ebb and flow? He'll still be really good, but it would be the best goalie in the league? If he's not, it's cause for concern because of the way that team plays defense. I still think the defensive core, they're going to start introducing some more young guys. How good those guys will adapt in this weird year, no training, shorter training camp, no exhibition games. It's going to be a challenge for them, despite the fact they have all that talent up front. I just worry about the way they play without it. And if Connor Hellebuyck takes any kind of step back, which is possible, then they'll be in trouble.
And they're going to be playing against teams that are very different than the Central Division teams that they're used to playing against a lot. They're going to be playing against Connor McDavid a ton. They're going to be playing against the speedy Toronto Maple Leafs a ton. So it's very interesting. Okay, we move up to number 5 in your power rankings. Okay,
the Vancouver Canucks, number 5 to me. The breakout team maybe of the return to play out west last year and the dynamic star power of Pettersson and Hughes. But they lost their backbone of their team. Their admitted MVP. Jacob Markstrom, he's no longer there. And I don't blame Vancouver for not giving him that contract. I understand actually financially, fiscally, why you probably make that decision. And Thatcher Demko had a couple great moments. And yes, I understand they have Braden Holtby. But I don't know if Holtby Demko can be as good as Markstrom was last year. And again, they give up a lot of chances. They give up, and they lost Chris Tanev. A real lockdown guy. Lost Tyler Toffoli.
They gained Nate Schmidt.
They gained Nate Schmidt. Will be a nice addition for them. Absolutely a puck-moving guy. So I just think, again, they probably were going to take, it was going to be, no matter what division they were in, a battle to make the playoffs. You lump them into this division with so many good teams with high expectations. They're going to be right there on the bubble, but I have them just outside it.
Okay, who's number 4?
Number 4, I got your new and improved Montreal Canadiens. They took a pretty good roster that underachieved a little bit last year, had a lot of injuries throughout, and added all kinds of people to it between Toffoli and Josh Anderson and Edmondson and Jake Allen as a backup to Carey Price. They re-signed Brendan Gallagher, re-signed Jeff. They were busy. Alex Romanoff, watch him, dark horse Calder Trophy out on the fence. This guy is really, really good. put all that together if Carey Price gets onto his game and they can gel together fast enough, because they are introducing a lot of new parts. They have the kind of lineup that looks on paper it could be really, really good. I have them squeaking in at the 4 spot.
I do like that you mentioned Jake Allen, too, because with this compressed schedule that we're likely to see, it's going to be important to have a good backup.
Yeah,
so we'll
definitely.
see. Number 3.
Number 3, your Edmonton Oilers. Listen, I mean, they have Connor McDavid. They have Leon Draisaitl. They will have 2 lines that will score a ton no matter what. Now, they're going to be missing Oscar Klefbom. That will be a huge blow. But they went out and got Tyson Barrie. He's a different kind of defenseman, but maybe can help on their power play, although it doesn't need much help. It was almost at 30% last year. My main concern is that. I think they were right there, historically good power play, one of the best penalty kills in the league. Those things probably fall off just a little bit, even if they're the best. Like, maybe 30% again, maybe it's 27. Over the course of a year, those goals add up. Koskinen has to be the starter, has to play well enough. I don't think it can be Mike Smith anymore. It has to be Koskinen. Take this reign and be good with it. But I just trust their star power. Dave Tippett's a winning coach. He really gets the most out of his roster. Darnell Nurse take a big step, and I have them in at number 3.
So who is number 2?
All right, number 2, their provincial rival, the Calgary Flames.
Wow.
Because they went out and acquired a couple big-name players in Jacob Markstrom and Chris Tanev. And I think for next year, they'll make their team much better. And I think, you know, they were one of the best teams in the league a couple of years ago. Maybe had an off year last year, but
they won the Western Conference in the regular season.
They certainly did, but they're going to have to bounce back this year. But I think Markstrom will give them that kind of consistent goaltending, night in, night out. I think Johnny Gaudreau is in for a big bounce-back season. This is going to be pivotal for the success of their team, because Gaudreau and Monahan, they need them to create offense. They're not great at defense, but they are exceptional at creating offense. They didn't do it like they usually do last year. If they get back to that, and you get a Matthew Tkachuk-anchored second line, maybe Dubé finds his game, maybe Sam Bennett plays like it's the playoffs all season long. I just think their additions next year, knowing that their window is kind of right now, this year, and maybe the one after for the remaining core of this team, they're going to take advantage of it. They'll be number 2.
I know you put the caveat out there at the beginning that all of these teams are separated by a razor-thin margin, but I'm still a little surprised you have Calgary at number 2, so I can't wait to see what they bring to the table. Okay, all you fans keeping track at home, that leaves one Canadian team left as what you think will be the division champion. Your
Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think Toronto, we know about their talent. And now they're going to have a full season training camp under Sheldon Keefe, which is different than Mike Babcock. And I think that they've added some interesting players to go with their elite level mix. I mean, you can't discount Marner, Matthews, Tavares, Nylander. They're great players. Morgan Riley, without Tyson Barrie around, will go back to the first power play unit, have another dominant offensive season. TJ Brody, they've been looking for a number 1 pair to play with Morgan Riley on the right side. They finally got him in TJ Brody. He's really quite a good player. And you mix in, they got Jumbo. They got Joe Thornton, you have to remember. They got Wayne Simmons. They got these veterans that are desperate to win, who want to contribute, who want to help steer the ship, maybe something that a young core group could benefit from.
Yeah.
And playing across Canada, it's always going to be passionate. With or without fans in the building, Toronto strikes a chord across Canada. So I think that they have the most talent. I think Freddie Anderson's got to bounce back as well. I have them in a pivotal year for that organization as winning the Canadian division.
Okay, there you have it. The power rankings of the potential Canadian division. Again, the Board of Governors and the Players Association still have to vote on everything before we have anything official. But wouldn't it be something if all 7 Canadian teams go head-to-head on a nightly basis?